cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs like that. Not a sponsor.
Time now for the main story quest, where the Trinity Bros give you their MMO opinions. All right, today our main storyline quest is about minigames. I was listening to the podcast from Massively OP with Bree and Justin, and I think one of their letters came in was about minigames, and it was one of the discussions I thought would be kind of cool for us. For those who don't know, I mean, there are mini games that are in games all the time. I mean, one of the biggest ones that people know about more recently is Gwent, that was in the game Witcher. You know, they actually turned it into its own game. I haven't played it, but there are a lot of mini games in MMOs. Okay, now some of them are storyline. They're story quests. They're flat out just part of. They're just little games that give a little adventure. You know, just because it's hard to move on the quest. There are others that are like side quests. They're like it's not side quest, but a side game that like almost like unrelated. Why are you doing this? I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was in my little town. And the guy said, "Hey, come on by, play this game with me." And so I played the game with the person. I lost the first one. I won the second one. I'm like, okay, it's kind of interesting, but I can probably win this again. I got charisma for it. So, anyways, mini games in MMOs. Okay, is it a good idea, bad idea, or is it based around if it's like a forwarding the story type of thing? I don't know. Solomon, what about you? Mini games in MMOs. Have you played them? What do you think of them? And I don't know, good or bad or ugly.
What do you think, Dad?
I will get to my opinion when we get to these. I usually do between the. I put my opinion in between the crossover between you guys. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just want to make sure you get your fair share too. So, to be honest with you, within MMOs, I can't think of any. I don't. I can think of mini games within other non MMOs, like, excuse me, like within Fallout 4, you could collect those holo discs that had those 8-bit type of games. If you remember that, do you remember that? You remember that, right?
Yeah. I also remember in Fallout 76 type stuff, but I remember in yeah, that's one. You're right. That's what I was thinking of too. You're right. Where it has little mini games, like totally unrelated. It seemed like, but it's like, oh yeah, but you're in the world of Earth, you know. So why wouldn't there be a place that had these little games people played to while that
Right.
time away?
Right.
But I remember see the thing is with the regards to the conversation I think Bree and Justin were having, there are some games I can't remember what they were. That's the problem I have, is that they literally were just like thrown in because somebody had an intern go make a game and we'll put it in here. And it had nothing to do with the quest, nothing to do with the adventure, nothing with the story, nothing. Just they threw it in there, okay? And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I mean, well, I was thinking that's not a big deal, I guess, if it all depends, right? But I was thinking if the mini game is like just a little side adventure type thing, like part of the you want to do this, and it's a different thing. I mean, come on, you've been playing MMOs for like 20 years now. You get to the point where you see the same thing over and over again. You have a little of a different adventure. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. All right, I guess we'll toss it over to SirJahzeal. What do you think about all this stuff?
Well, I remember way back in EverQuest, there really weren't any mini games in it, but we created our own. We would have casino nights in our guild where we would do like random rolls and whatnot to bet on different things, and we would like play roulette and all kinds of stuff in the game itself, using the game mechanics to some degree. Sometimes there'd be like an app or something on a website that we'd use outside of it, but most of the time it was with whatever we had available in the game. We would make our own mini games, and because it was a guild thing, and there towards the end, before WoW came along, and I deserted my first love for it. We would give away like prizes and stuff. And it was kind of neat. Well, by the time World of Warcraft came around, they had little mini kind of games built into the game itself. Some of them were part of quests, and others were not. And I really enjoyed them. I I'm a fan of them being implemented in the game either way, and if it is something for a new engineer or someone that's just getting their feet wet and just got hired on and they just want to test out and see how good he or she is, and if they can put something together fun to put into the game, then that's okay. I'm sure that happens. I've heard stories. um, but I know in Guild Wars 2 there's games, and I'm not sure if you would really call the jumping puzzles mini games, but they kind of are, aren't they, in a way. That the more formal jumping puzzles where you have to find your way up a steep mountain or across a tornado kind of event. It's really crazy stuff and really difficult, but awesome prizes if you get to the top or get to the end of it. Um, I love those, and they even have not just for you personally in Guild Wars 2, I'm talking, but also guild events, little mini games within for your guild to participate in. And they have races and all kinds of different, not just jumping puzzles, but races and um, card games and all kinds of stuff in there. I love it. I think it's there are things that give you a break from the monotony where as MMO players, and being creatures of habit, us humans are, we tend to kind of put ourselves in ruts, like I'm doing right now with trying to level one of every class up to max level before Shadowlands comes out. That's all I've been doing for like the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and on both factions, by the way. This just tells you why I'm getting gray right here, if you can tell. Um, it's happening. Um, so little things like that just give you an opportunity to go do something else. The Darkmoon Faire is an example that comes the first week of every month for World of Warcraft. A lot of people think, oh, that's just silly. There's no reason to go there other than to get that buff. There's an experience reputation buff that you can get from it, as well as if you're just starting an alt and you want to have a nice, easier way to get 5 points or so put into fishing and all your professions. There's like little questies that you can do. um, and it's just fun. Like I said, it's a break from the norm, from going out and killing 20 elks or going out and you know doing your normal grind. It just gives you something different to do. And Elder Scrolls Online has several mini games in it as well that are pretty fun, honestly, both for single players and for parties, and bless you, and for guilds. Sorry, your sneeze kind of
Yeah.
my brain.
Well, I was
just
going to
went.
say is that you brought a very good point up, and it's the fact that the monotony of the game gets broken up with a mini game. Yeah, the Moon Fair you mentioned is a good example, and and I hadn't thought about that. The fact that some mini games are related to the game itself. Like, okay, they're very relevant. Whether it's Fallout, or not, and there are games that are irrelevant. Where it's like, why are you doing this? If you decided to put it in here. But the biggest thing you mentioned was the breaking up the monotony of the game. It gives someone else something else. You don't have to do it. I mean, I don't go to the Moon Fair very often at all. I've always bothered. I never bothered over the years. Like, who cares?
Well,
But
it does tie the Darkmoon Faire. To be fair, see what I did there? Oh, I rhymed.
Oh,
See what I did there?
goodness.
Oh, that's horrible. Dad jokes. Anyway,
I'm so tired.
if you're into it, does tie into the game. Because if you're into transmogs, if you're into collecting pets, you can get pets there as well. If you want, mounts, there's more than a couple actually. I think there's 4 mounts that you can get from there. So there are things. You can just go there to break up the monotony and just to have fun and just chill and relax. But if you are a person that likes the 100% and to you got to collect every pet, every transmog, every mount, and you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs like that, not a sponsor, then that is a reason to do it. But you can also just go there just to relax and have fun and not, maybe you're tired of the grind of trying to get that one piece of gear that you've been trying to get from that raid for the last month, and you're just like, you know what, tonight I just don't want to do that. I'm gonna turn on my Spotify and listen to some music and just go to Darkmoon Faire,
No, that's good. That's well said. Okay. All right. That was our.
Sorry, one more thing.
One more thing. Ahead. Absolutely.
So, props to Stannis, a viewer in my channel right now. I guess my not problem, but my thing was defining the name minigame, because he brought up a really good point. When I was thinking of the term minigame, I was literally thinking of mini games within the game, and I think fairs, as SirJahzeal was pointing out, is a really good example. But also he said like fishing in WoW, and then I thought fishing in BDO. Like technically that is a mini, like, so if you're fishing in Black Desert Online, for example, you have to press a space bar because there's like this little gauge that you have to get it right on the spot, kind of like a carnival game or something like that. And so I'm thinking, yeah, technically I guess that's a mini game too, technically, but that's not the first thing I thought of.
That's
and so
a
it kind of
good
made me
point.
wonder. Yeah.
I hadn't
So
thought about that either.
I'm thinking, well, I think that's more of a gathering mechanic more so than a mini game. But it
is, but interesting.
Yeah, the lines are blurred enough where it could be both. But I'm thinking, you know what? I don't think anyone's really gonna rush out to buy not an isolated, but like a just WoW fishing or just BDO fishing game. I don't think that's a very fun mini game.
Maybe if it was on here, they would.
Well,
maybe, but even
BDO fishing is not a mini game, right? You just turn it on and walk away.
No, you could, but you could actually like stand there and watch your character fish and play the mini game within it. And there's also like an up, down, left, right puzzle solving thing that you have to do. Like you have to match within a given period of time, and if you don't press the right buttons within like 10 seconds, then you fail the fish and it gets away. So yeah. So there is that. This is not just AFK fishing, although you can do that too as well. So yeah, I think it's an interesting point that he brought up, and I think it's something that was worth mentioning. So yeah, I guess it's something that we'll probably talk about later on if we really want to get into it. What's the definition of a mini game or something?
Yeah, because
that's
because I am starting. Oh, sorry, Ken. Hold on. There were a lot of, like in Legion, if you remember, there were a lot of dailies that were mini games where, like, there was the line game where you had to uncross all the lines by clicking on each point and you could only do one at a time. And I had a lot of fun watching people on Twitch and on YouTube Gaming take literally an hour to figure out just one of those puzzles. Whenever I for whatever reason, I just by luck or whatever, I was actually really good at it. But yeah, so I'm all for him. Go ahead, kid.
Oh, I was just thinking, right? That's a good question, but definitely mini games. Mini games, I think, are just things inside the game that are not relevant. I'm thinking like, was it? I think it was Noxramas or whatever it was where you had to do the dance. That's one place where you had to go move around because if you got caught, the squares or move, change. I forget. There's also one where you had to be playing a chess match. You know, there's someone who was the king and queen, all they're doing. Like those to me are not mini games. They are adventure quests or things you do in the game. To me, the mini game is a side thing you do on your own. Fishing, that's an idea. Darkmoon Faire. Or any other thing, like even like what Solomon mentioned about Fallout 4, where those tapes are, you can play a game. Fallout 76 had the same thing, where you can play these games. Like, I'm not going to play Space Invaders. I don't care this stuff for, right? I'm like, this is so stupid. But, hey, again, that game I did in Valhalla was interesting, but also could see that I beat the guy second time around. I'm like, okay, I think I can win this game over and over. Maybe not. Maybe it does scale up. I'm not sure. Okay, but yeah, that was pretty good. Check out the further adventures of Kennethan by liking and subscribing and watching me live on twitch.tv/Kennethan.